Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Tales of the Valiant CR Exposed. Today's episode we are looking at what is called a Balara, an interesting undead like druid thing. It's some kind of enraged druid or something. Formerly a druid, I don't quite know. But anyways, before we get into looking at this Balara and seeing how its CR holds up to Tales of the Valiant's rules, if you like this tool and you want to get it for yourself, you can go ahead and grab it from the link in my description completely for free, or you can donate if you feel so inclined to. Other than that, leave a comment in this video if you'd like to see one of the Tales of the Valiant monsters CR exposed here, and we will go from there, and I'll put it on the list and stop picking randomly. Alright, so let's take a look at this undead monster here. We are looking at a CR6 with the following suggested ranges of a proficiency bonus 3, 14 to 16 AC, 140 hit points, 6 to 8 attack bonus, 44 to 49 DPR, that's damage per round for those that are not in the know, and 14 to 16 save DC or difficulty check. From there, we will go ahead and we'll start adding in its stats. So we're going to have a 3 strength, 2 dex, 2 con, minus 2 intellect, plus 2 wisdom, and minus 1 charisma. For those that are curious, Tales of the Valiant only uses the modifier numbers and not the hard number. Like, you know, a plus 3 strength would be, what, like 16 or 17? It doesn't matter here. We only care about the modifiers. And from the looks of things, it doesn't seem like we have any kind of saves for this one. Everything looks pretty run-of-the-mill for a CR6. So from here, we will go ahead and add in our armor class because we have a natural AC of 17, which means we're going to need to add in 5, which will bring us over the expected AC for a CR6. But this is only 1 point, but because it's 1 point and ACs are so small, this is actually going to give us a negative to its hit points already. We'll see that down below. From there, we will go ahead and start working through the rest of this. We don't have to worry about hit points. The hit points will be adjusted, and hopefully we'll find 114 by the time we're done. The speed doesn't matter in this case because the speed is 30 feet. If it was anything less, basically like oozes, for example, we would have to modify the speed. So we do have to pay attention to this, but because it's 30 and it's not below that, this is perfectly fine. We have perceptions and stealth, flat checks, or the passive check. There we go, that's the word I'm looking for. Those we don't have to worry about. So let's move into the other parts of this item here. So we have resistance to necrotic, and we will go ahead and slap that in there. From there, we also have immunities to charmed and frightened. So we will go to our conditions and take a look at charmed, and we will add in immune there, and frightened, which we will also add in. And then we have a couple more from undead resilience. We will add those in a moment. After that, we can skip over senses and languages. We don't actually need those. That's perfectly fine. Then we move into the traits for the monster. Now, this undead monster, large by the way, is a terrifying, or has terrifying luminescence. And basically, this is a fear-based vision, similar to like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like Medusa, whatever Medusa is. Someone might call that like a Naga, or some of them might call it something else. Instead of turning the person to stone, this will cause fear whenever someone's looking at them. So if they don't want to be racked with fear and pain, and basically have their speed reduced to 0, they can look away and be technically blinded. Now, the funny thing is the rules should say, you know, the creature's technically considered blinded, but the GM will have to make sure to remember that. All in all, this probably won't be counted in, even though it happens all the time and it is an aura. So unless we're doing any kind of damage, I don't see this potentially adding. We'll have to come back to this if our hit points aren't lining up with 114. So moving over to the side here, we can actually see the artwork that was associated with the Balara. Again, the groupings of bones and whatnot to make this strange undead druid creation. And we move into the undead nature, which we don't care about because that just doesn't require air, food, drink, or sleep. But we do care about the rest of the undead resilience, and this means the Balara is immune to poison damage. So we'll go ahead and throw that in as well, which gets rid of that other check mark here. And then we also add in exhaustion and the poison condition. Now this will add a check mark in, as we see here. Immune to poisoned and also immune to exhaustion, which is right here. Now we have 4, and for every 3 that we get for these condition immunities and resistances, we get a -5 check. So since it's only 4, we only get the 1, and we don't have to worry about anything else from there. If we had 2 more exhaust or any kind of condition immunities, then we would add in another round of this. But for the time being, we only have -5 here and another -5 for being AC1 over the suggested range of the high end. Next, we move into the multi-attack section. So we'll come back up to the attack section here and start working out its abilities. So we have a multi-attack. The Balara makes 1 bite and 2 claw attacks, or it makes 3 necrotic bolt attacks. So from the looks of things, with a +6 to its melee abilities and a spell ranged attack, where are we getting the +5 from? So we're supposed to be getting a 3 and more than likely a wisdom. So yeah, it looks like we're using that, and the strength is going to be our main attack. So that's going to give us our attack bonus here, and we can pretty much keep the 6 anyways, even though our necrotic bolt is a 5. Averaged out, technically that would just be 5.5, and then we could round up to a 6 anyway. So the 6 is perfectly fine. It keeps us in the expected attack bonus range. If we are using the necrotic bolt, this will be a little different. We can look at that too. That technically doesn't get counted in by the rules that I was given by Kobold Press, and basically they're suggesting that the attack bonus for anything over here should be pushed into the range that it's required. I technically have a experimental section for items where the attack bonus is too low or too high to give any kind of a bonus there as well. So in essence, the necrotic bolt, if you're primarily only using that, the hit points should be a little higher, but we'll get to that in a moment here. So let's go ahead and finish up the multi-attack, and we're going to look at the bite, which is going to be, what do we have, 3d8 plus its strength bonus, I'm sure, for a total of 16, which we see here, 0.5 because we have an odd number of dice, and then we also have 1d8 for necrotic damage, and that will be the total for the first attack. So we'll go ahead and add those in here, giving us 21 points of damage. That's why the half die is always important here. When we have an odd number of dice, we actually do get a slightly bit higher range of attack. Then we also have the claw, which is going to be 3d6 plus our strength modifier for a total of 13.5. We will add that in here. And then lastly, we have the necrotic bolt, which is also going to be 3d8 plus 2. So we'll throw that in, 3d8. We'll go in, put in the wisdom bonus here, giving us the 15.5. And that will be the total for that one. Now, we don't have any else. Let's see. Well, we do have a rider here. The target can't regain hit points until the start of the Balara's next turn. Technically, that would be an attack condition. So I would give this a single use for that, and this will bring it up to 16 DPR total, which likely means that, yeah, I think it's probably 3% for attack condition modifiers for singles, and nothing for, in 5, or maybe it's 5 and 8. I don't remember. It's been a little while since I've looked at the rules for that. It's baked into my tool, which is nice, so I don't have to think about it. So then we will go ahead and add in our multi-attacks here. We have the 21 plus the 13.5 because we're making, actually, yeah, we have to do, excuse me, we can just do it like this, 13.5 and then another 13.5 because we're doing the claws and the 2 claws and 1 bite, or we are getting, what is it, 3 necrotic bolt attacks, and I gotta use this, times that by 3, and ironically enough, they're exactly the same. I was not expecting that. So damage-wise, our monster is doing the exact same. It doesn't matter. And as we can see here, our expected DPR range is 44 to 49. Our monster is hitting on the higher end for its CR6 range. So we'll just go ahead and drop that in. And we're getting 48 here, and we're done with our attack section. We will mess around with this a little bit and look at the lower end here to see what might happen, but like I said, it's not really going to do much. Lastly, we do have Relentless Pursuit as a reaction. Whenever a creature the Balara can see moves away from it, the Balara can move up to half its speed towards the creature. This movement doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity. Now, this is a reaction, and it may not happen all the time, But I'm going to go ahead and add this in because we do have a section for flyby, which is anything that is flyby or similar that allows a creature to move while ignoring attacks of opportunity, which this reaction does. Our monster should get this in. Now the question is, because it's a reaction, how often are we going to be using this? In theory, we'll want the Balara to chase down back row players and go for them first. So we do have a likeliness that if we want this to trigger all the time, we'll have to force the Balara into a spot where, you know, it's putting pressure on the weaker targets. So at the moment, with everything that's set up with the 1 AC over, the bunch of condition immunities, and the Relentless Pursuit, we're looking at a minus 20%. So, drum roll here, let's take a look to see what our hit points are at. And our adjusted hit points are at 112, which is only 2 points off what we were expected to be at. So it does look like the game has taken into account the reaction as a movement penalty for flyby and the whole ignoring attacks of opportunity. So I would say, for whatever reason, you know, maybe this was just a typo and this should actually be 112. This is 100% accurate. If we were to switch to only using ranged attacks, then in theory we wouldn't also be using the movement or the reaction to move away from things. So let's take a look at this. We would throw Wisdom in here for our attack range for 5. This does technically give us this experimental feature, which I've added in, and we would lose this feature here because technically we're not running away from, or we're not running away from melee to chase down other creatures, and we're going to be staying in a ranged area. And then we only have an adjusted hit points of 133. So while our monster from a ranged perspective is technically shooting a little under the level here, we are, you know, we do have a little more hit points technically. And all in all, it doesn't really matter. This is probably the equivalent of 1 attack maybe by players that can easily be made up, so it's not that big of a deal. In any event, like I said, you will likely want to have this set this way here, and this is probably the intended way to play as an aggressive backline hunter for your games. Alright, well, this has been another look at Tales of the Valiant's Monster CR system. Our Balara here, as far as I'm concerned, is 100% if you play it as an aggressive backline hunter. If it's played as a backline ranged attack, then it's a little off and needs to have its hit points adjusted by 12 or 14 extra hit points. And you can go from there. Beyond that, this is a great creature, and I'm happy to see that it's following the rules pretty much spot on. All right, thanks everyone. Again, if you'd like to get this tool, you can get it from my Ko-fi link in the description below. Go ahead and grab that there. It's totally for free, or you can donate if you'd like to do so, and I will see you guys in the next video.